Okay, let's go. Okay, お願いします。
お願いします。
So we just start a little bit of loosening. Loosen up our body a little bit. Just drop the camera a little bit. Play a little bit with the arms, lift them up a little bit. Stretch the body out. Okay, and just start to kind of glue the feet down. And just let the body kind of pulse down through the ground. Okay, good. And just starting to work with the forward. Explore the chest, also the neck, the head. Really motivate all the movement. And play with the feet a little bit as well, coming into the toes, into the heels. Also play a little bit with the arms if you like. Just draw them back, out. So, keep going. Wait. Rolling. Just keep everything fluid. Draw the arms forward. Good. 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 Going side to side. And again, really just explore the whole movement. Explore the arms in the movement. Explore the head rolling through the movement. Just imagine you kind of press different parts of the body down. I kind of usually imagine someone kind of pushing me, so I kind of feel like someone's kind of pushing the hip, pulling the arms out, kind of pushing across the face, like this. I just kind of get the feeling of something. Just kind of pulling the body out, stretch a little bit. Just kind of listen to what's happening in the feet, and working the edges, the blades of the feet, inside and outside. And then just play a little bit with really trying to kind of find a kind of wave through this whole area, body. Especially kind of upper torso. See if you can really mobilize it. It tends to be quite dry in the kind of, especially in the morning. Work a little bit with the arms. Okay, and then just come into a rotation. And these kind of exercises for me are a little bit kind of progressive. We start to go down to the hips, start to feel the body a little bit more centered. Much more, the upper body's now released. You start to feel like the hips start to become, and the lower body starts to become much more dense. You start to feel like it's kind of wrung. And now organize the body a little bit more around the center. But also feel free a little bit to explore a little bit more, opening the spiral out Also open it out to the back a little bit, open it down. The main thing with heaviness and kind of relaxing, settling the body is that I don't use, I try and avoid tension to do it. So if there's kind of tension in the legs or something doesn't feel quite right in the knee, try and kind of loosen it a little bit. Let it kind of release, release. And the more you can start to kind of release the feeling down, start to allow the way to really kind of settle. And we should feel the hips are basically kind of generating the movement. Ooh, sorry, people in. Who's dead? Ella. Okay. Yeah, once you feel the hips are basically, the hands are following the hips, just start to feel that you can move the hands now. So kind of throwing them up or throwing them out. Also to the back. But really feel again that the key thing with this kind of work is that the arms don't pull the body up. So really feel that the body doesn't get uprooted by the arms. If you imagine the arms like a kind of branch of the tree, don't allow basically the branches to kind of pull the root of the tree out, pull the trunk of it. Just think of the body in this way. All the time you're going to kind of root to the ground. And again, if you think about like a tree, it just naturally is that way. We tend to kind of pull ourselves up as humans. So the work is in a way letting it drop, letting everything just settle. That's good. So just explore a little bit more, drawing the arms up, rolling the arms out a little bit maybe. Also separating them a little bit. And also work with a kind of, in a way, working with complex movements with the arms. So you can work with kind of these kind of loose figure of 8 movements. Just really play with it. And again, all the time keeping this heavy, relaxed, kind of quality through the body. So, and really just play with the connection. So. Okay, and then a little bit more active with the hand now, or with the arm. I usually just do this with one arm, so just feel that you can kind of, in a way, kind of throwing the arm up and out. So you can do this, I think about kind of working diagonals. So I think about kind of sword work, I think about kind of yokeman work. Or basically with that hand, the feelings like kind of static. So feel that you're going to basically get this kind of connection. And again, really break the movement down so you can do it in a way that's kind of right. I can really get much more out of it in a way if I just kind of break it down a little bit. Really feel that the arm's very heavy. And it's got this quality like a kind of thick rope. Wow. This means everything, every part of it's going to be more loose. And just make a distinction as well in the feeling as well, trying to hold the arm as well as you do it. Just so you've got a very clear feeling of what tension feels like. So as soon as I kind of stick the arm with tension, the automatic, you'll just feel a block happens in the body. You basically feel glunk. It's like there's someone's just shut the valve off. Glunk, glunk. And then I want to feel the difference between that and a fluid weight that goes through the body. So in a way, what you're trying to do now is extend the feeling through the arm. And try and feel that the arm's really connected to the whole body. Especially now the shoulder needs to be quite loose. Open. And just play around a little bit with it. That's it. It's as if you're playing with your own arm. So it's as if the arm's not really yours. It's as if it's kind of someone else's. Just kind of around. Yeah. That's it. Good. And then just see if you can basically work both together. If you're not working them together, now just start to bring them in. And again, work with kind of simple movements. Really feel that you can start to generate some kind of, it feels actually quite weak. If I don't have the heaviness, it can feel quite weak. So, and that's actually okay because it's actually something different from strength that we're kind of used to. So it won't feel particularly useful. Pretty kind of useless. Pretty kind of that's just really explore the arms. You can work the arms together, you can kind of split them out. So work as well towards the back as well. You imagine all these kind of kokyu movements we do. A lot of them involve kind of rolling the arms out towards the back. But just kind of feel, yeah. Just play a little bit with it. That's it. Good. And then we'll just go to these kind of swinging exercises. So these are basically a formal way to train the same thing, but just train the same thing. You've got the feet just kind of level with the knees and the hips, and then just kind of swinging, reaching up, and just drain it down. Swing, reach up, drain down. All the time, keep the feeling that the center weight is going to go boom into the ground. So keep the priority basically on the body, on the core, and just let the arms kind of swing down in a very heavy way. Let everything just drop. And this is a nice one because basically the center just drops right in between the base of the feet. Just boom. So as if I'm kind of sitting the body down. Boom. Boom. That's good. That's okay. Okay, good. Yeah, and in terms of heaviness on the arm, try and feel that the shoulders open and a little bit like the elbows are very heavy. So the feeling, if you think this kind of movement we do in the sword work all the time, but basically it means that basically that the elbow's quite heavy. It's a bit clearer when we do these kind of tiny henko movements. So we make this kind of movement, and I really feel that the underside of the arm is very heavy. Now, in a way, I can do this exercise where I kind of throw the arm up, and that's basically what happens is like this kind of way. And this is actually, it's not a bad way. It's not a bad way to do it, but just think in terms of functionality, in terms of what we do in Aikido, think about that basically the arm's going to do something like this. So there's a feeling of from the shoulder to this line through the hand goes boom. This is like a and not in a way kind of this way with the hand leading. Think about the whole arm. If you were to just lift the arm up and then it goes dead, it will go boom like this. So it would drop from the point of the shoulder. The shoulder's released. You would do that kind of thing. So if you can imagine, in a way, what you're doing is just letting the arms drop. And they're just going to kind of naturally drop down. So just feel a kind of natural arc happens through the arm. That's it. Yeah. Play a little bit with it. Good. Yeah, exactly. So it's got this kind of heavy elbow kind of quality. Nice. That's it. Yeah, good, John. Nice. Great. Very nice. And then the second of these is just the one that kind of works with the rotation. So much more focused on the hips. You go to the side, out, and then just reach over to the shoulder. And we'll go straight into a kind of fluid way. Just feel again, you've got this kind of heaviness runs through the body. And that kind of heaviness is up and down. So you've got almost the kind of bird with this kind of wings. So there's kind of phrase that runs through the movement. And again, the same feeling, you're dropping the feeling down, but now you're adding a twist to it, or you're adding a spiral into it. Not so much a twist, but the body's gonna spiral down. So now feel that you're actually prioritizing one hip forward and one hip back. So in a way you can think about pushing one hip forward, but just think about the focus goes to one hip goes forward, one hip goes back. So something happens and that basically, that creates the twist in the arms. So really feel that you've got this kind of connection with the arms. The hips drop, hands drop. And then in this case, the hips twist, or the hips coil, coil. And basically the arms follow that movement. So again, just feel you can also break it down to kind of so these movements should be kind of pretty playful. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, good. Yeah, so as well as kind of loosening exercises, especially for the upper body, feel these are also compression patterns. So these, you're all in a way, whatever we do, footwork, weapon work, body work, anything, we're always, in a way, if you think about it, we're always trying to train compression patterns into the feet. So in a way, just feel what's happening now. It's easier when we do this one because basically the weight just goes boom, into the feet. And I'm basically just training the ability for the feet to receive the body. Now what's happening with the rotation is something else. So just feel what happens in the feet as you kind of pull, as the body gets drawn down, feel what's actually happening in the feet. And what I want to avoid in this case is the body kind of not really grounding through the feet. So this becomes an upper body movement. And if I really exaggerate, that becomes like this. Which is okay, but try and kind of get something more heavy, more grounded. And basically it's lower body focus. Even though it looks like all the arms are doing all the activity, all the active stuff's happening underneath the body, in the lower body. So the actual activity, the important stuff's actually what's happening hip down. And the arms are basically just a reflection of that work. Breathing. Okay, and then that's a kind of formal pattern of doing it. You'll actually find this in a lot of Tai Chi. It's a kind of Qigong exercise, and they do it very, very slow. And they do it this kind of way. It's a really nice exercise to do. Let's slightly make it informal now. So what I want to do is feel that the hands now directly connect to the hips. And you're just going to do this. This. So this is much looser now, but the connections are exactly the same. This just makes it very clear. And now what I want you to do is feel that you're going to kind of move the hands from nothing. So it's a bit like this. I catch the hands, and then that. Catch the hands, and then that. So this really, the priority now is center, but center to periphery. So really think that the hand is being caught by the hip. So it's like this, this, and just feel that you can send the hand anywhere. So you can pretty much connect it. Now this relies on a quality that feels like overwhelmingly relaxed. It's like a kind of ragdoll. You need to be totally kind of the upper body, especially needs to be like a kind of servant to the lower body. The moment I go into tension, actually I will actually never find this kind of connection. I will just do it. So really feel it. You. So it really relies on something super loose. That kind of quality. Very fun to do. Again, it feels almost like your upper body's not yours. Feels like you kind of lost control a little bit. That's the point you want to get to a little bit with these exercises. Yeah, good. That's it, yeah, good. Feels almost like a kind of zombie. It's got that kind of, yeah. And the more loose you can make this, actually, the better. Yeah. Yeah, good. Yeah, exactly. Good. That's it, John. Good. Yeah, that's it. Perfect. Great. Good. Okay, we'll do the last one. The last kind of this formal swing is kind of up and dropping through this way. So now really the priority is this kind of front back. And this one really is for loosening the shoulders, or actually for really opening the front and the back. So this exercise does a few things. And again, the same kind of things happening. You're doing a much more complex movement now. So the hip works now really, really mobile. And again, I'm just trying to pass the movement into the hands. So just feel Again, all the kind of focus is in the lower body. So just trying to press the feeling down. Really feel what's happening below the center. Just take it one way. And feel free to break this down as well, so really play with it. And then just try, see if you can go both ways with the movement. And again, just try and get this quality of being heavy. Now this is the hardest exercise, I think, to stay relaxed, because the arms are coming up and our natural focus is to pull the arms up with kind of strength, with power. So really feel that the arms get caught with the hips again and then they get swung up. Now, if I do this kind of quality, the arms will feel like they're going to just boom, pull down all the time. So the overwhelming feeling in the arms is like boom, heavy. They just want to go down. They just want to kind of boom, go down. Again, it's actually work on the same principle as before, just slightly formalized. And swinging front and back. Let's play with that a little bit. Good. Okay, good. And one of the main things I think with this exercise that kind of blocks it is the head. So because this is quite a complex movement and the arms are kind of doing different things. And I think in Japan, this exercise they use for Alzheimer's patients and people with kind of memory and learning difficulties. So they use these kind of exercises because there's something to do with the coordination between the two hands, doing almost opposite things. That really focuses, it kind of switches all the brain on, starts to really kind of switch on. But trying, as the more you get into this, the more you get into it, really drop the feeling away from the head and just let the head start to basically follow the spine. Because we tend to, obviously, a lot of the moves we do, especially if we're kind of learning them or thinking about them, is we tend to try and think through them. And the head starts to kind of feel all the movement out. So once you get the kind of coordination for it, just feel that the body can take over. And try and pass the feeling away from the head and thinking it. And then you go to kind of feeling the movement. That's it. And then again, just the last few, just feel that you can connect the hips. And it's a little bit more flexible now. So feel that you can do, again, it's the same kind of work you did this way. But just feel that you're kind of pressing it out a little bit. Again, it actually goes back to this exercise we did at the beginning. These kind of exercises. This kind of exercise. I just feel it's a little bit more this heavy now. Got these kind of qualities. I just feel that you basically catch the hands with the hip. There. And just play with it a little bit. Good. Good. I break it out a little bit more simple. Think like the hands are just going to be by the side, like a kind of gunslinger. So the hands are going to come here. What we tend to do before we do a movement, especially in weapon work, we tend to do something and then we do it. So what this practice is actually really good for is really feel that the hips connect the hands. I don't need to do anything with the hands will go by themselves. And then really feel like there's a kind of move, just a movement with the whole body just doing. That was not so good, but feel the hips connect to the hands. Basically, just use this. Now the hands will go. I don't need to do anything with the hands. I can just release them. The hands will go, hands will go, hands will go, and then run. Just kind of play with it a little bit, which means a little bit kind of coming to a still point and then run. Finding it out. And you want to kind of instant reaction in the hand, but the movement's going to actually originate in the hip. Just see if you can find it. And the best place to start from in a way is from a stillness. Really look for the connection from stillness. That's it. And we train this quality all the time. The clearest thing, if you can think about it, is when we do Shomanuchi work. So in this style, when we do the Shomanuchi, you initiate it forward. And basically the whole body comes into the movement. So we'll just play a little bit with it, just because you've got a very clear form for it. And just feel the same kind of thing, the arms are connected and for quite neutral with the body so that everything's kind of stacked. And then really feel everything's just going to kind of shoot in this way. So just feel you're basically going to take the front hand forward and just come into it. Now this movement obviously comes from kind of sword work, so it's got this kind of a raise up, and the hands kind of coming towards the head. But just see if you can just again play with it. Really feel the hands connect to the hips, body sinks down, and then just feel something's going to go. Something's going to go. Boom, and then come out to it this way. Just play a little bit with that. This is the clearest form we've got for a kind of untelegraphed movement. Okay, good. And again, when we do this move, we tend to do something like this. Like this. Really feel when you do the Shomanuchi work, you're actually doing this. So that if I really slow the movement down, that the hands coming from here and then straight up. So the feeling is what you're doing with the strike is actually a great strike, because if you think of someone's vision, and you will basically catch the person's attention with the eyes, they would catch you in the eyes, and then I go straight up underneath. So they never see this hand coming. So the hand's actually traveling in an arc this way, and straight up into the head. So if you can basically catch someone's attention, and then bam, you come straight up into it. Now, the moment I do something like this, and then I do that, this is basically like loading the movement, and I give them just basically a really clear signal. I'm about to hit you, bam, and then I hit you. Now, if we work like that in training sometimes, because we're kind of being nice, but really we should slow down and really take the feeling like this is very direct, and it's come straight in. And it's not to do with speed, it's just to do with kind of not giving a really clear signal. So just feel that you can come from nothing, straight into it that way. A little bit. And this relates for me totally to sword work. This is the same kind of feeling we've got. Just a little bit, just to get it. So that's it. Should kind of have an explosive. That's it. Very good. You should almost, in a way, you should almost surprise yourself when you do the movement. So the movement's almost like, whoa, where did it come from? That's the kind of quality you want. But if I can surprise myself, I can surprise the other person as well. Because if I can't feel it coming, the other person probably won't see it as well. So it's got that kind of quality. It should be a kind of shock. That's it, good. Okay, super. So we'll just go into a bokken. Take a bokken. So this kind of work. So we'll go towards that, but we're just going to work through the forms first. Good. I'm going to run through the Senso Guru because we've not actually done them for a while. So I'm going to start just with number one. Just coming to hit, do this nice and slow. Again, find the back. Be open the shoulders out. Just look for this quality of heaviness. So use all this kind of training we've just done. Swinging, feeling out, down. Now you're just adding something a little bit extra, which is a kind of snap. Through the center. That's good. Good. Okay, good. Good. And even though this movement actually is not totally related, the feeling that you've got from this and then raising up with the hand that you've got in this kind of Shomanuchi, this movement we actually do in this in the Sorgok here. So what I want to do, even though you're now coming from a kind of ready position, you're not coming from a neutral position, but feel it from this position, be grand, and then just feel it and dong. It all comes from the hip, and then dong. It all comes from the hip. What we tend to do, if I watch myself also, is that the feeling like something happens and then I go. Something happened and then I go with the arm. Especially the raise. So just focus a little bit now on the raise and try and make it kind of in a way instant. Let's go boom. So just work again, just a little bit like we did yesterday, really break the movement down. But I want to get that the kind of nugget of the start of the movement. Boom. Should really have a sense that it's gone instant. So everything should just feel like it raises. So the movement's actually something that's not, it's not about raising the sword, it's about doing something with the body, raising with the body, raising through the body. So just feel that you can breathe. And the more I can connect the hips in, relax, the more it will just all fall together. We'll just play a little bit with the kamae and the raise. Down. Down. And it means really breaking it down to the simplest thing, which is just the initial moment. No, no, that. I'll tell you one tip as well. For me, I went through a long stage where I was actually really doubt myself, and I doubt I've got the connection, and I doubt I've got the connection, and all you have in your head is it's not connected. You're not connected. It'll never work. So and that's actually destructive for the training, because I don't mind. I like doubt. I kind of, you live in doubt all the time, but the one thing don't doubt is that actually I'm just connected, and then from here, well, just go into it. So you need to go into it with some kind of sense that I'm coming that connected. And the moment I feel like there's, it's not really connected. And then I'm actually not connected, because the body will just disconnect automatically, because you're kind of telling it it's not connected. So really feel that it is connected. And then work with that. And then that. And what you'll actually find is the disconnection will just happen anyway. So it actually doesn't matter whether I believe I'm connected or not. But it's better that I kind of think myself connected than not. Feel that you connect. Go. Really try and get the best kind of connection you've got, and then bam, take it back. And then come into it. So really do it with a sense of kind of clarity, that connect. And it's always in kind of degrees. I'm never fully connected. So really feel like the most I can get there. That's okay. I can work with it. Just kind of work that way a little bit. Nice. So, okay, working with the same idea, we go to number 2. So again, find the kamae, and now what you've got is the same kind of feeling, but it's lengthened out now with a step. So you're going to roll back, find this high kamae, and then coming forward this way. So just focusing a little bit more on the raise than the cut. I really feel again this kind of instantaneous connection to the hands and the sword. There. And again, it's not about speed. Just about connection. So again, connect. Nice, good, comfortable kamae. Connected in the hips, and then just go. And just go. And just go back. Okay, good. And this movement, I really, when we do this, really watch for these positions. So what tends to happen is maybe this is okay. This comes to here, and then I do something, and then I find the back. But really feel these kind of movements are kind of instantaneous. So feel that even though we do them slowly, do them with a sense that they go. So really they have a sense that they just happen. Just watch for, in a sense, I kind of, I get to here, and then I kind of, and I kind of, the movement becomes very blurry. So what you're trying to do with the form, when you're training form, is really bring the form into full focus. So it should feel very sharp, crystal clear, the form, especially when it's kihon. it should feel sharp, sharp. And I'm trying to minimize those movements, those kind of extra moves, which basically blur the form. They make it kind of mushy. So I want something that's quite blunt. Focused. Wow. So something that's got a real sense of clarity to it. That's really the key to form work, is to really try and find the clarity. And sword work's great for it because by its nature, it's sharp movements. Sharp movements, really great. That's it. That's it. Oh. Good. Okay, good. Yeah. So. Great. I'm going to skip number 3 and we're going to put it at the end. So I'm going to kind of say, because it's slightly working on a different issue. So we're going to go straight into number 4. And if you've got the space, what I want to do is come to the back, cut down. You take 1 cut, do the second, finish on the right, and then come to the back. Sho Manuchi, and then do 2 steps. So you go 1, 2. So you've got the rotation, and this really makes sure that you do both sides. So the rotation, the Zengo you do on both sides, and then you've got 2 steps. So you cut, 1, 2, rotate to the back, cut Sho Manuchi, and then 2 steps. 1, 2, and rotate. So. Okay, good. Now for number 4, really use the back again as a guide for it. So number 4 is not a practical way to attack. So we go into more practical when we come into number 5. But just in this case, really the first one, really find the back. And every cut, really find that you go to the back. And then find the cut. Really go to the back. Find the cut. The biggest problem with number 4 is we get into doing this. And everything just goes go into the shoulders. So the movement of finding the back, the design of that, or the purpose of that, or one of the purposes is to really open the shoulders out every time. So really free the shoulders. And then the cut's got much more of a clean quality. So open, free the shoulders, cut through. The one when you come to the back, when you go to the back, don't find the back, but just use the top of the head. But all the cuts when you advance, find the back. And really take your time with it, really full movement. Don't rush with these. That's it. That's it. Okay, good. And then the next point with this relates a little bit more to number 5, but you actually started in number 4, you started working number 4. So get the feeling that you really just do one thing. So as you come through this movement, even though I'm finding the back and then cutting, really feel that this is one thing. So the movement has a quality that it's so it's all got this quality where it's just one thing. I'm finding the back and advancing. finding the back and advancing. But it's got this quality of kind of smoothness to it. But I just want the feeling that I'm just doing one thing, one movement, one cut. So try and avoid, in this case, doing things like by building the foot and then I do the foot and then in this case, try and just get the feeling the whole body's just going to go forward. The whole body's just going forward into the movement. So this is the kind of quality I want with the cutting. It's like just one movement forward. You know, it's like, for me, this is like archery. It's like just a shot. Bam! Everything just goes. Everything goes. Boom. That's it. That's it. Nice. Good. That's it. So. So. Nice. So we're going to number 5. So the 2 key points with number 5 is work the line, and in this case, don't use the back to find the cut. So you should do this one, just advance straight into it, and this part of the hand, this part of the hand, is going to find the top of the head, and then cut through. So you really, in this case, really work the line. And again, just use 2 cuts, so you're doing both sides. Cut back in Zengo. It goes 1, 2. Cut to the back. 1, 2. And as much as you can, really, if you've got a line on the floor that you can use it. It really helps really mobilize the hips around the movement. Just imagine if you've not got a line, just going to travel down it. Start nice and slow. Big clear movements. This good. So good. That's it. Okay, good. And there's a really clear sign in this movement for me that whether the center's creating the movement or whether the arms are creating the movement. And the signal is this, or the marker for that is, the quality is this. Watch this. Basically what happens, the arms start to move and the center does nothing. So nothing happens to advance. Now, if you think about this, this is really an attacking movement later. What I want to do is from this point of stillness, I want the whole body to come into the movement this way. Now, if my body's still and my arm's moving, I'm doing something with the arm, clearly, right? So try and get the feeling that you're actually, the movement's being motivated again by the center. So it feels like the center's really going to push the sword up. So pushing's the wrong word, but the center's going to have this feeling that it releases the sword this way. But my key motivation or my key feeling with this is an advancing forward. So really feel that it's not really an arm movement. So it's not a raise of the arms and then a cut. It's really a sense that the center presses in this way, and then the whole body generates the movement, and the sword will just follow because the arms are connected to the body anyway. So just feel that the center initiates, and this can be very, very slow. So again, just play a little bit with this connection. The most important part is that first kind of 1% of the movement. So that very first one, what happens there? What happens there? And it's a difference between doing this, or it's a difference between that. The center kind of draws it up. So just kind of, and it's always the kind of same story. It's trying to motivate the movement with the center and really do a kind of whole body movement. A really clear movement. You can really tell what's happening with the body through the sword. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. There we go. Serena, I'll show you what you're doing. In this way, what's happening is you're twisting the body out first. I'm exaggerating it, but what's happening is you're doing this, and then the body's coming forward. In this case, really think that the back hip's going to send the sword away. So that what's happening in this case, the front hip's quite solid, but the back hip's going to kind of fire in this way. And that causes the arms to do this. If you think about these exercises we did at the beginning, it's the same work structure. But what I don't do in this case is kind of, and then do it. So in this case, what's happening a little bit when you do it is like, something twists, and then you go. But just see if you can get the movement just kind of comes in through that way. So you can just kind of link the hip work.
Okay, so the back hip is just walking through.
Exactly, yeah. And let the sword follow that motion. So basically your anchor's in the front hip, and then just feel that the back hip's just going to kind of walk through it, like you say.
Okay, thank you.
Just goes through. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Much easier. Yeah, good. So, very nice. Good. Okay, we're going to go through to 6. So now 6 and 7, they start with the Jogan Kamai. So you roll back. If you're doing the second Suburi, strike through, and then you're going to thrust on the same side. And then you make a Yoko in, and then you find the left side thrust. And in this case, if you've got the space, do 2 steps each side. If you've not got the space, in this case, just work with a Zengo ski. So you basically do Zengo, you cut, thrust, rotate to the back, cut, thrust. So if you're in a pretty tight spot, use this form. But if you can, see if you can advance with it. That's great. That's good. A little bit away from the form a little bit, but it's based on the same principle. So if you think about, if you know the kumitachi, when we do number 3, and you've got this kind of snapping movement that comes in. So I basically snap from the center, and then I'm kind of thrusting in or striking with it. So in this case, I want you to just explore this kind of connection with the hip. It's the same connection that you get when you strike down and you thrust through. So it's got a kind of elastic quality, but the key point I want you to work on is this feeling of a direct connection to the tip. So from the center to the tip of the sword, there's a direct relationship with it. It's not something that it kind of gathers, and then I kind of pass it out. But really feel that the connection, if I'm really connected to the sword, that connection is very direct. So it's like fiber optic. It's like done. It's just connected. It's not slow. So it's not kind of a slow connection through the system, but it's really just like snapped in and it's instant. So then this moves this way. So just play with it. If you like, just play with the ski movement, but just get the feeling you connect the center, and then it just goes. And you can do this in like millimeters. So it's not about the distance, it's about the connection and the feeling of passing my center directly into the sword. If you do kendo or you do any kind of martial art where you're actually competing, I'm going to use these strikes where I'm going to actually strike for the wrist. So I'm going to use these onto the wrist. Bam! And we do this sometimes in training, but they're quite dangerous to do. But just feel that you can basically play with this connection with the tip of the sword, and you can do versatile things with it. So you can kind of snap the sword out, or snap onto the wrist. And it's the same connection we use when we come up to the wrist this way. this kind of feeling. So just play a little bit with it. And that's all based on generating the movement that we use in the ski. But sometimes it helps just to come away from the form a little bit, just so you can play with the connection. And just really try and feel like the center moves the sword, the center moves the tip. Just have this kind of really direct. So it's like they're really talking to each other, but the connection's like instant. Bah, bah. This moves this. Yes. That's it. And the key point with connection work is knowing which part starts the connection. So if the sword's starting the connection, this is the wrong way, in a way. So if the sword's basically pulling the center out, in a way it's kind of the same thing, but I want the feeling like the center is basically the motivator for it. Center motivator. So. That's it. Good. And just like if you just go back to the form, you're basically going to cut down, really feel this connecting. And then the beauty of this cutting movement is it actually just brings the whole body into focus with the connection in the tip. And then I just pass it through into the ski. So just play a little bit with the form. You've got the Shomanuchi and then the strike. That was a bit pulled. Shomanuchi, press it through. If you've got the room, use the Yokomen step. Whoosh. Good. Oh, good. Nice. Bam, bam. Great. Mm-hmm. Good, and then if we go to number 7, again, start the same way. You roll back as if you're doing number 2, strike down, and then from this way, rather than the right foot, you're going to step through now with the left side. And again, if you've got the space, do a kind of multiple. So you're going to york in on the right side, ski on the left. Strike down, strike down. Now the key work in this is that you're increasing the movement now really into a full kind of spiral. You got the same quality of connection, the same direct connection into the tip, and what you're doing is passing a spiral through the motion. So just try and basically unlock this movement. Right. This kind of quality now is like a spiral, really clearly. Right. Number 7 for me is the most important Suburu in terms of connection work. So if I work with any Suburu, I work with number 1 and I work with number 7. That's it. Okie dokie. That's it.
Michael?
No.
The number 7, the feeling should be more like you're walking forwards or not?
With the ski?
Yeah, with the ski. So without rotating the hip outwards. With this spiral going.
You mean like doing this and then coming forward?
Yeah.
You mean that kind of way?
Yeah, or
you mean just let me show me. Let's see. I'm gonna look. Ah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So think again. You've got this kind of connection to the center. I don't know if you can see, but you've got this kind of connection. So that rotation happens. And sometimes, basically, in terms of like beginner work, we just kind of come out, and then kind of pass it through this way. But if you think about this as kind of one motion, what I think about this is like kokyu work. So I think about a spiral that passes through the whole body through this way. So if I go to kokyu work and then I do that, and then I kind of pass it forward, then that's kind of not quite what I'm doing with the kokyu work. So if I do that with the sword, I'm creating a kind of creating a kind of split in the movement. So in a way, the movement's not wrong. And sometimes I actually teach that to beginners because it gets them in the right kind of ballpark of actually kind of coming into a kind of where the hip's going to kind of angle into it and then pass the body through. And sometimes you'll actually see in Japanese sword work, they'll actually do that. They'll kind of come to this position and then just pass the body through forward. And it's got the kind of threatening gesture. But if you think in terms of Aikido work and looking for a spiral, and if I think about much more, that movement's going to get a kind of pass through like that.
You keep it more.
Say again.
You keep it more dense, more compact. So
yeah, exactly.
Within the own body instead of moving outside of the body.
Yeah, exactly. And I want the feeling. My feeling a little bit is like screwing through the whole movement. So it's got this kind of quality like into it. Whereas if I do a movement that's kind of boom out first and then in, it feels like I'm adding a movement that's not actually in the form. So in a way, I'm always kind of looking to kind of simplify it. So if I do that kind of work, I just think about the spiral, passing the spiral around and then pass it through that way. So yeah, I try and.
Thanks.
But in a way, you'll see that because sometimes you'll see people teach it because it's a way to just get people moving the hips. The first thing is like get the hips moving, at least move the hips. And then you start to kind of structure it into a spiral. Yeah, that's it. So, okay, good. That's it. Nice. Okay, good. So I'm gonna skip number 3. We'll do 3 on another day, maybe one day next week or sometime. But just in this case, just go to number 7, and I'm just going to simplify it. But I want it to come into a kind of fluid form. This is one of the great movements that we've got in the Ken works because it's really spiral work. So what I want to do is find the back, cut into the shoulder like this, and then find the ski like this way. And then what I want to do is just play with this connection where you're basically going to draw it in together. And just the first few, just keep it very light. So the first few, also use the basic. You've got a very static gong, kihon. And then what I'm really looking for is stillness movement. This way. And a little bit lessen the impact of the strikes. Just go to kind of quality of still move. Pass the movement through. And then once you feel that's kind of connecting in, just start to work slowly. Passing the movement through, off the strike. Passing the movement through. The main thing when you're working to go to fluid is not do it too fast. And really look for a sense of calm through the movement. So it should feel very easy. And it's a really nice move for the hips if you can kind of catch the spiral. Just play with it a little bit. Basic and a little bit more fluid. Okay. Okay, good. And the main things, 2 things, when you go to fluid work, one is it's like a kind of shift of gear. It's got like a shifting gear because I'm not doing the basic kind of sped up. So I'm not in this kind of speeding up the basic. You always kind of have a disjoint in the movement. So really feel you're actually shifting into a different kind of quality, which is like heaviness through the movement. Now that doesn't mean that I skip the striker and kind of go into it this way. But what I'm doing is utilizing the strike, the impact, this kind of impact, and then goes into it. So I'm basically utilizing the strike fully, which means I fully commit into the strike, and then come into it that way. And I just kind of ride the wave of that strike. Just look for this quality where I kind of fully commit into the movement, and the whole body's just going to kind of ride into it. So try and now see it's not two distinct movements, it's now one. That's it. There we go. And this kind of work with the sword is the key to unlocking all the kind of flowing taijutsu work we do. You can kind of find the flavor of the movement here. You can kind of start to really unlock the taijutsu work. That's it. Nice. There's the last few. And very bad. Okay, last 30 seconds or so. Just play within just cutting anywhere, any direction. Yokomens, skis, shomanuchis. Just the last 30 seconds. Really ground every movement. All right. Again, look for a sense of calm and clarity. So the movements where we have a real sense of focus. All right. But really try and find a sense of calm through the whole thing. That's it. Nice. And the main quality if you do this training alone is really don't think about it. So think about training the quality, but don't think about what movement I'm going to do next. Just think about what's going to kind of happen with it. So, and I just move. And then find something. So the easiest way to do this is really simplify it. I go to shomanuchis, shomanuchi, shomanuchi. And then I stop thinking about what I'm going to do. And I go to how I'm doing it, the quality of it. And then once I've got that, start to play with it a little bit. Just play a little bit with it. The main thing is not thinking. This is the kind of, you think in the kind of training in the Suburi work, kind of training the structure. And just kind of let it go. So. Good. Great. Okay, well, bow out. We'll stop. A little bit over. So. Hi. Domo. Arigatou gozaimashita. Domo.